Hello everyone, welcome to this session. So today we will be discussing a very important topic which has been in news and creating a lot of controversies, okay? Especially bringing another round of clash, isn't it? Clash, I mean not a physical clash but an ideological clash between the center and the states, okay? So this topic is relevant for the ethics in the center-state relations in the federal structure, and it is also very relevant for ethics of civil servants when they are working in the government, ethics of politicians, isn't it, of the working government. So the topic is this IAS Cadre Rules Amendment. Okay, so I think in the date was 17th January. There was a amendment which was moved in the IAS Cadre rules. We know that there is IAS Cadre rules 1954 which is governing the entire cadre management of the IAS. Okay, and similar cadre management is applicable to the IPS and Forest Service also. We all know that there are three for this All India services. Now before going into the rules amendment and the different issues related to the rules, first of all we have to have some idea, some background to what are these All India services all about and what is the objective. Without understanding what is their objective and what is the spirit behind having this kind of system, we will not be able to bring out something substantial or something concrete as far as this topic is concerned, because we can't just have different views and without any concrete shape of opinion on this issue. Okay, at least different dimensions and different aspects related to it needs to be known before we actually write something on it. Okay, so what is the background of or this IAS All India Services? Okay, so when we talk of the All India Services, first of all we know that Article 312 of the Constitution, it provides the Parliament the power to create an All India Service, and of course the Rajya Sabha has been given a special power in that Rajya Sabha can pass a resolution and then the Parliament will enact a law to create an All India Service, okay, including an All India Judicial Service, right? And they have also mentioned that they can subsequently amend or repeal, I mean they can do whatever changes they want to do in those in the provisions related to these services. So prior to independence we had two All India services, the Imperial Civil Services and we had the Indian Civil Services, the ICS, and we had the Imperial Police Services. So we got the IAS and IPS which were pre-independence through the All India Services Act 1951. Those two were created. Okay, two All India services, the IAS and IPS were created. Now what was the purpose of creating these two services? Remember, there was a very important debate in the Parliament, in the Constituent Assembly, and outside also there were very strong voices which were in favor of dropping altogether these administrative services and these police services. Even Prime Minister Nehru had a very negative opinion of the civil services as such. But remember, it was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's initiative, it was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's insistence that no, these services need to be protected, they need to be kept intact, they will be the steel frame of India. What was the reason? The reason was that he had, because he was more into the Ministry of Home Affairs and into the integration of the country, as we all know. So many princely states and secessionist movements going on in different parts. So he was of the view that we need to have this kind of All India services essentially to ensure the unity and integrity of the country. Okay, so the model came up as a matter of lot of discussion and deliberation. And what was the model which we have as a result? So the All India services, their most important purpose was to ensure national integrity. Okay, national unity and integrity. So officers are expected to be loyal to the nation. Okay, this is the first and most important thing which we need to understand. There will be so many other viewpoints, there will be so many other things which will come up. This is the most important, which first of all we need to know. Then, what are the other things? What is the arrangement? So the arrangement is that these people are recruited by the center, by the union, and allocated to different services and cadres by the union. Okay. So union is recruiting them because union has created them, union is recruiting them, union is allocating them different services, IAS, IPS, forest service through different exam, and then union is allocating them different cadres. Okay. Now cadre can be a state or a group of states. Okay, like UP or Bihar or Maharashtra or Tamil Nadu or AGMUT, isn't it? Arunachal, Goa, Mizoram, Union Territories, right? Now one more very important thing which we need to remember, the cadre controlling authority of these services is the union. Okay, they belong to the union government. How? The IAS. Who is the cadre controlling authority? DOPT, Department of Personnel and Training, directly under the PMO, isn't it? IPS, the MHA, the Forest Service, it is the Ministry of Environment and Forest. So the cadre controlling authority belongs to the union. It is the union. Thus, a very, very important thing which we need to understand is that the officers are ultimately responsible to the union, and their immediate responsibility is to the state or cadre. Okay, so this is the other very important thing which we need to know, that the officers are ultimately responsible to the union and their immediate responsibility is to the state cadre. What is the meaning of it? For their day-to-day things, for salary, perks, etc., for accommodation and routine things, small promotion, small punishments, etc., they are under the responsibility of the state where they are working, because without that the state will not be able to get work from them. But remember, their ultimate control, if there is some major punishment to be given to them, then they are responsible to the center, the union, because we know Article 311. Okay, what is Article 311? Anyone who is appointed by the government, only the competent authority who appoints is responsible to take major punishment like removal from service or dismissal or reduction in rank, isn't it? So, because the appointing authority is a union, it is only the union who can take these kind of actions, right? So this is the general arrangement. One more important thing which we need to know, how does this work? Union and state, how the coordination happens. So there are 2-3 points again which we need to remember. Now remember that the ultimate objective was to ensure the national integrity and unity, but at the same time, the states also need to have qualified professionals to carry out their administrative functions. There were other important objectives like uniformity in service and many other things. I will talk about them also. So to ensure all of these, what was decided was that there will be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. This will be the ratio of different officers coming from different pools. So 1/3 of All India service, so suppose this is the All India service, 1/3 will come from other states. Okay, so any person serving in say Delhi or in say Bihar or in say UP, 1/3 All India service officers serving in UP will be from outside UP. Okay, 1/3 from home state or home cadre. Okay, so these two who are recruited directly by the union, these 2/3 are recruited directly by the union. 1/3 of them are coming from home state or home cadre, and 1/3 of them are coming from outside. And the remaining 1/3, they are coming from promotion from PCS, the provincial civil services, the state civil services. They are getting promoted to the IAS or IPS or forest service. So this is the arrangement which has made sure that at least 1/3 officers do not belong to the state. They are not at all meant to do local politics. They are outside the state politics. They are coming from different state. A Tamil Nadu person working in UP, Tamil Nadu person working in Bihar, a Northeast person working in Maharashtra. So it is likewise. Okay, 1/3 are directly recruited by the union, and 1/3 are recruited by the state, but they are promoted to the union. So this is how they have tried to address the issue of coordination. Now there is one more very important thing which we need to know, that I will discuss when we talk of the rules. Okay, how this coordination actually works on ground and what are the amendments all about. Right now I'm just giving you the background of everything. So through this, what is the ultimate thing which is being attempted at? So the objectives are, I told you, unity and integrity, national unity and integrity, then uniformity in administration. Now try to understand this point, very, very important. Why is this necessary? We know that we have union list, state list and concurrent list. Okay, union list, we know the subjects which belong entirely to the union. The union will make laws, union will implement them. State list, subjects which belong to the state. State can make laws, execute them. But there are concurrent list subjects. Union can make laws, state can make laws. Implementation generally falls with the state. What is the nature of concurrent list subjects? Those subjects where ideally there should be uniformity, but regional variations are allowed because of various reasons. So we have given them in the concurrent list so that the state and center both can improvise and then they can govern. Those subjects which are in the state list, they are those subjects which are having, they require a lot of regional variation. Okay, subjects like health, subjects like water, they have been left to the states. And those things where a uniformity across the country is required, they have been given to the union. Okay, apart from this, we know that as per Article 258 of the Constitution, the union can even give some of its union functions to the state. Okay, either the president can give it, and of course the parliament also. So there are different situations when both of them can do it, right? So lot of functions are coming to the state for execution, even on laws made by the union. Now, if a union law is made and you have different states implementing it differently because the officers, the civil servants working in those states, they are having different mindset, they are having different administrative skills, they had different trainings, it will create problems, isn't it? So it becomes very important, it becomes imperative that the civil servants who are working in the state, they do have some kind of exposure which is common to other states also. So that is why what happens, this uniformity in administration becomes very important. So this can be achieved how? When there are common pool of officers working across the states and the center also. So that is also a very important role which is played by the All India Service. So the same people, they are working in the state and later on they go to the center and they help in formulating laws, in formulating policies. Okay, so they are working both at the center as well as the state, and of course there is combined training of all of these people. They are sharing experiences from each other, that is coordination. Okay, you know, different officers, suppose you talk of this year's examination, civil services, those who have been selected, those who will be selected, they will join the academies together. So irrespective of which cadre they are going to join, they will be joining together and they will be training together. So a lot of camaraderie, a lot of bonds, a lot of networks, a lot of friendships, they are often formed during their training period. And as a result, what happens, when they go out to serve in their different states, those networks, those contacts, they often help in solving out issues, in solving out disputes also. Suppose there are two friends working in UP and Bihar and they are heading some key officers, key offices which are in dispute at each other, they can often create some kind of situation, some kind of diffusing situation can be arranged by them, isn't it? So this is also a very important role. Why do people go to study in Ivy League universities in US or say UK? Because they get to connect with a very, very impressive peer group, isn't it? So that is what is happening in the services also. Okay? Then what else? They often act as liaison. So coordination between center and states, and liaison between states and center. Okay, so they are acting as a link between the center and states, trying to fulfill each other's interests. Okay, so I hope you have understood these things. Now, how is it achieved? One, I had shared you the division of the different, the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 is the quota of officers coming to a state. Now, there is another very important thing which is the tenure system. Okay, what is tenure system? The officers who are working in a state, working on the field for some period of time, generally 3 years or 5 years, they go to the center and then they work in the offices. So there is a switching going on between line and staff agencies. So at one time they are working in the state, they are working as district collector. Later on the experience which they have gained in the states, they go to the center and cooperate, they contribute in a policy formulation role. That is what is happening. Now this is happening through one of the provisions in the IAS Cadre rules, that is rule 6. Okay? Rule 6 of the IAS Cadre rules 1954, it provides for deputation. Okay? Now it facilitates the movement of officers from the state to the center and then back from the center to the states on deputation. Okay, so now we are talking about deputation and the controversy which is created out of the amendments. So what is the current system? Okay, why this amendment was brought, what was the center's justification, we will have to know all of them, then we will talk about the state's views, officers' views, and what should be the way ahead, where does ethics come into the picture. Okay, so the current system is that there is a central deputation reserve, which is maintained by the states. Okay, so what is happening till now? Now this central deputation reserve is 40%. Okay, the maximum number of officers who can be on deputation from the states is 40%. Okay, so what is happening? See, the previous mechanism which was there, in this mechanism, states prepared a list of officers are willing to go on deputation, okay, or eligible to go, willing to, it is eligible to go, eligible to go on deputation. Of course, officers do have to fill their willingness forms when the deputation post comes out. The states prepare a list of officers eligible to go on deputation. Then what happens? This list is shared with the center. Okay, and the officers which are, they have filled the forms, their willingness, and the center is accepting those proposals. The center will accept those officers on deputation. Okay, this is the system how it works. Now, currently, 458 IAS officers out of 5,000, around 5,200 IAS officers, they are working on deputation in the central government. Okay, if we talk of the higher level officers, now this is all IAS officers total. Okay, the central government actually needs officers at the joint secretary and above ranks. Okay, below it, other officials can also pitch in. But joint secretary and above, the center does require more IAS officers because they are the ones who have got experience on the ground. So the center wants a mix of people who are technocrats from lateral entry, mix of people who are coming from the central services, working in the government of India, and mix of people coming from the states who are bringing in the experience of their groundwork. They had worked as collectors, as SPs, so they can bring more experience. Okay. Now at joint secretary and above levels, what has happened is a significant decline has happened as far as IAS officers working in the ministries is concerned. If you look at the numbers, 2011 this number was 309 in 2011. It has come down to 223 in 2021. Okay. Now ideally this number should have increased because more IAS officers are coming up, isn't it? And more departments and posts are being created, isn't it? So ideally this number should have gone up, but the number has gone down. And if you look at this central deputation reserve from, the stipulated 40% which was required to be prepared, what is happening as of now, on an average it is 18%. So only 18% of officers are supposed to go to the center on deputation because the states are, not preparing, they are not sparing their officers. They are not sparing their officers for going to the center. Now they are citing their own reason. They are saying that, they have a lot of scarcity of officers. They don't have enough people to man many of the departments. So they are having their own reasons. We will talk of those arguments later on. So first of all, this is the factual situation. The factual situation is that number of IAS officers working at JS and above has decreased significantly, and the CDR, which was supposed to be 40%, it has come down to 18%. Okay? So the center has amended the IAS Cadre rules, but there is more to it than meets the eye. Okay? What is that? So as I told you, there is more to it. So there are some other issues also, and one of the most important issues, so which is actually being brought to the fore by the states is that this issue is actually political in nature rather than administrative in nature. Okay? So there are some other things. Clash between center and state. Over deputation of certain specific officers. Okay, now what is this? The last year and last to last year, many things happened on this front. Okay, especially from West Bengal, two very prominent instances. There was one instance in 2020 when the convoy of the ruling party at center, the BJP, its president and the other leaders, they had gone for campaigning. Their convoy was supposedly attacked by someone. So the security in charge of that, entire political campaigning, 3 IPS officers, they were summoned by the center. But they were not spared. So 3 IPS officers okay, so they were not sent by the state because their immediate control is with the state. They cannot go out without the permission of the state. I will talk about the rules. What is the existing rule with regard to this and where is the amendment and what is the effect of it, right? Then there was one more very, very, you can say, different incident which took place. The Chief Secretary of West Bengal, he did not attend a press conference or a meeting related to Cyclone Amphan. I think it was Cyclone Amphan or some other cyclone. Basically, it was a disaster management meeting for which the Prime Minister had went there and he was found to be absent in that. So as a result, again the center had called him up to show up. So he was not allowed, he was not spared by the state. So the center had tried to take disciplinary action, and there was the concerned officer, the concerned chief secretary, he was, sandwiched between the center and state. And ultimately what happened, just before, 3 or 4 days before his retirement, he took VRS. Okay, he resigned from service, right? And after he resigned, the state government appointed him as the advisor to the chief minister. So a lot of politicization took place, okay? So there are 2 prominent issues which are having a lot of role in ethics in this topic. One is center and states, and the other is politicization of civil services. Okay? So this was another incident. There were other instances which had happened in the past, like in 2001, the Tamil Nadu government, it was asked to spare 3 IPS officers who were responsible for a raid against parties, office bearers who were actually a member of the ruling dispensation at center. The NDA government was at center and the AIADMK government was at the state. Again, the state did not allow those officers to go to the center. A similar thing had happened in 2014 again with regard to Tamil Nadu. Okay? So, what has been seen in all of this is that the states have not cooperated on any such situation with the center. Now, what is the legal provision? Did the states act against the rules or did they act just as per the rules? What was the situation and what is the center trying to do? So we are trying to bring out every perspective, okay? Immediately just jumping to the 4 amendments and just looking at them without having the context, it will not serve purpose, alright? So, what happened? How did the states evade center's request? How did the states not cooperate with the center? That is something which we need to understand. So what were the current rules? The current rules, 6.1, okay, what did they state? It stated that the state, it has to offer the officer for deputation to the center, isn't it? The CDR is prepared, the offer list is prepared, it is sent to the center. In case of, and the center consults the state before deputation finally takes place, the officer has to take an NOC. Okay, NOC of state is required, and center deputes on consultation with state or cadre. But one very important thing you should remember, that in this current provision also, it has been very, very unequivocally mentioned that in case of a dispute, in case no consensus is there, in case consultation of the state is not acceptable to the center, then center shall prevail. Okay, if you read the exact words, it is the center shall implement, the government's concerned shall implement center's decision. Okay, so this is very important. Center shall prevail. I have just reframed it. But what is the catch which is enabling the states to evade center's ruling or request? No specified timeline for the state is provided. This is very, very important. No specified timeline for the state is provided. So this is where the states were evading action. Okay, the center was saying that please give us names, state simply, or please send the concerned officer on central deputation. The state was not doing it because there was no timeline which was binding the states. Now remember, as long as the officer concerned is working in the state government, the center will not be taking disciplinary action. They have to be deputed. Okay, they will go to the center, and then the center will start something. Okay, because their immediate control is with the state, right? So no specified timeline for the state is provided. And now what is happening? Because of this, a lot of politicization takes place. Because of this, a lot of center-state relations come into picture. So what are those dimensions? So when we talk of ethics, we often say that ethics starts where law ends, isn't it? So now the law in spirit has very, very clearly said the center shall prevail. But because there was no timeline, the states are not complying with the rules requirement. They have never sent the officers concerned to the center. Now I am not saying the center is always correct. I am not saying the states are always correct. But the point is, what is the spirit? The spirit of the law is that in this case, the center, the union, their views should prevail. So ideally speaking, the states should have at least allowed the officers concerned to go to the, to be deputed to the center and let the law take its own course. Of course, we have to understand certain things. Okay, because ultimately they are required to be loyal to the national cause. But this does not mean that the center is always correct in its stance and the state is always wrong. Okay? So we will talk about those things also after that. So this is the current thing, and this is where ethics is coming into picture. And this is where one more, so this is ethics between the center and state. The state should comply with it, the spirit of the law, it is not doing it. Then, as far as the civil servants are concerned, what is the role of ethics over here? The civil servants, because of politicization of bureaucracy, many times they are developing their own political connections at the state level, and they simply don't want to go and serve at the center. They simply don't want to be working with a party in power in the center which is different from the ruling party at the state, because they are ultimately working with the state. So as a result, the very important value of neutrality of civil servants is going to be compromised. Okay? So this important provision, which is allowing the state to evade center's action, is giving the civil servants or the bureaucracy a very, very clear message that even if they are able to form, even if they are able to evade center's action, there is nobody who is going to hold them accountable because the states are going to protect them. Okay? So this is how, ethics as far as the, neutrality of civil servants is concerned comes into picture. Right? Now, what has been done through the amendments? So the amendments, first of all, they have added within specified time to this rule. Okay, this is the first thing. Very important. So now the states have to give it within time. Now so the next provision is, if the states are not doing it within time, then what happens? Then, if not, then they will be relieved from state on specified date by center. On date specified by center. Okay, this is very important. And what happens? So after that they will have to go and join, isn't it? So after specified time is over, officer concerned will stand relieved, and even without state's sanction. Okay, so no automatic. So what happens? He is automatically deputed to the center. And then one more very, very important change which has been made is, that is actually something which is very controversial, and it is here that the center's stand does not seem to be very justified. In public interest, okay, in public interest, okay, for a specified purpose, specific officers can be deputed to the center without any consultation with the state. Okay, in specific situations, in public interest, in specific situations, okay, any officer with consultation with state can be deputed to center. These are the three changes, and one more very important change is, we had talked about the central deputation reserve, CDR, at 40%. Now, center will decide number of officers to be deputed. Okay, now it is not fixed. At 40%, center will decide the actual number of officers to be deputed to the center in consultation with the state. Okay, so these are the four important amendments which have been made. Now the center has its own arguments. The center says the reasons are because of less number of officers coming to the center on deputation, especially at the higher level. We have seen the data. The reasons are because of this, that the quality of policy formulation and legal formulation, it is declining. Okay, now the states are giving their own reasons for their disagreement with this. Many states have written, they're calling that this is an assault on federalism. The states' argument is that the states also have shortage of officials. The states also are saying that this is an attack having political overtones. Because of these, I gave you the examples, it is because of those things that this is happening. This will create a fear among the officials working in the states that the center can anytime call them on central deputation. So they will naturally be forced to have their loyalties shifted towards the central government rather than working for the state. So this might discourage people taking up central services, the All India services, and this will reduce the quality of All India services. These are some of the arguments put forward by the state. Okay. Now when we talk of the officers, what are their views? Some ex-civil servants like the ex-cabinet secretary, Mr. 𝐘𝐨𝐮𝐲𝐤𝐬. Then we had Arvind Mayaram, there are 𝐻𝐥𝐸𝐬𝐿, there are many ex-civil servants. What they have said that one of the reasons why people are not going to the central deputation is lack of security of tenure. That is one reason. Secondly, they are saying that many times, they also have said that the choice of going to the center, the consent of the concerned official should also be there. Okay, because ultimately they have to plan so many things. So while going from state to center, there must be some kind of consent mechanism inbuilt into it. Okay, then they have also said that the states are not justified to say that they will not have sufficient number of officers, because what is happening is many of the state governments, they are putting many officers of the All India services in useless positions just to punish them. So they should put officers from the state civil services also on different posts, and they should spare the All India service officers from useless posts so that they can be sent to the center, so this issue can be resolved. Okay, so these are some of the arguments from some of the retired civil servants or ex-civil servants. Okay, now before we conclude, before we take a final call on what should be done and what is the way forward, we have to bring out the story lies somewhere between. Neither the center is entirely correct nor the state is entirely correct. Okay, now how to understand? So when we talk of pros, the center's stand seems to be justified for administration, etc. When we talk of the cons, okay, one of these, this public interest, this amendment, it is very, very problematic. Public interest, very broad, a specific situation is not defined. Okay, it is not defined. So what happens when it is not defined? Center can arbitrarily depute any person on its will. So this will be something which can result into unethical decisions. Okay, so there more clarification is required, maybe more, a clear-cut definition of what is a specific situation and public interest. In such cases, it should be defined. Otherwise, this is something which should not be acceptable. And this specified time, this addition, it seems to be justified because more often than not, the states have not cooperated with the center. Okay, so just by saying that federalism is being attacked, the states cannot defend themselves on something which is unjustified. Okay, so a balance between the two will be what? That this can go ahead, but this provision, there needs to be a relook into it. Okay, so this will ensure that civil servants are not politicized. What is happening today? Civil servants are getting very politicized because of these provisions, because the states are protecting them from all kinds of central accountability measures. And they are ultimately working in the states, so very easily they can form nexus with the states. So this is one thing. One more very important thing is post-retirement, there must be some cooling off period, maybe 2 years or 3 years put as a condition before these people can join politics. As of now, there is no such provision which bars them from joining politics immediately after coming out of government service. So this is something which needs to be looked into. That can also be a step in solving these problems. Okay? So this is how we have to look at this issue and understand it. Alright? I hope you have got the complete picture of this topic. Thank you everyone.